如果你在聆听时不需要频繁暂停就能理解大意，那么你的英语积累在日常表达中是完全够用的。像学母语一样学英语，我们开始吧。
This true story is about a woman who was a real princess, but became a famous spy. Her life was caught in the big turning wheels of history, a story full of secrets, adventure, and much sadness. Her name was Kawashima Yoshiko. Yoshiko was born a princess many years ago in China, in 1906. Her first name was Xianyu, and her family name was Isen Jioro, the family of the emperors of China. Her father was a very important Manchu prince. But these were troubled times. Just a few years after Xianyu was born, the last emperor of China, a little boy named Puyi, had to give up his throne. The old Qing dynasty was over. Yoshiko's father, the prince, was very sad and angry about this. He dreamed of a day when the Manchu emperor would rule again. He thought he needed strong friends to help him. One of these was a man from Japan named Kawashima Naniwa, who knew many important people in the Japanese army. To make their friendship very strong, Yoshiko's royal father made a hard choice. When little Xianyu was only 6 years old, he gave her to Naniwa to be his adopted daughter. She would go to Japan and learn Japanese ways. So, little Xianyu left her home and went with Naniwa to Japan. There she was given a new name, Kawashima Yoshiko. Most people just called her Yoshiko. Yoshiko grew up in Japan. Naniwa did not spend a lot of time with her. He got a lady to care for her and teachers to teach her. In Japan, many people respected royal families. When her caretaker and teachers heard Yoshiko was a real Manchu princess, they treated her with much awe. Because of this, young Yoshiko grew up feeling very special. She became used to getting her own way and had a strong, proud spirit. Kawashima Naniwa was friends with many important men in the Japanese army who believed Japan should be very powerful in Asia. When these men came to Naniwa's house, he would often bring young Yoshiko to be with them. Yoshiko would listen as they talked about war and power. These ideas, like little seeds, fell into her young mind. She began to think that power and strength were the most important things. Then, when Yoshiko was 17 years old, a beautiful young woman, a terrible story is often told about what happened next. It is said that Naniwa, the man who was like her father and should have protected her, did a very, very awful and wrong thing to her. This story says he hurt her in a private, terrible way against her will. It was a deep betrayal that broke her heart and crushed her spirit. After this terrible thing, as the story goes, Yoshiko was filled with so much pain, anger, and shame, feeling her life was ruined. After that, Yoshiko changed greatly. She was no longer the same girl. She cut off her long, beautiful hair and started to wear men's clothes. She began to act tough and wild. She felt a deep anger at the world. In 1927, when Yoshiko was 21 years old, she married a man named Ganjurjab. Ganjurjab, who was 24, was the son of a brave Mongol military leader and had studied in Japan. He liked Yoshiko very, very much. He wanted to marry her so badly that people said he was sick with love for her. They had a big, fancy wedding in a hotel in Lushan. Many Japanese people from Lushan and Dalian came to the wedding. It was a very lively event. Yoshiko, who usually loved to wear men's clothes by this time, made a wedding dress for herself for that day, and she looked very beautiful. But Yoshiko did not really like Ganjurjab very much. She had an outgoing spirit and liked to do things her own way. She was not the kind of person who could live a quiet life at home. After less than 3 years of marriage, Yoshiko left Dalian without saying goodbye. Their marriage was really over. Gunjurjab never forgot Yoshiko, but he could not control her wild spirit. Yoshiko wanted a different kind of life. When chances came to do secret and dangerous work, she was willing to take them. The Japanese military saw that this changed Yoshiko, beautiful, daring, speaking Chinese and Japanese perfectly, could be very useful. This is how she started on the road to becoming a spy. Her first big secret job for Japan was about a very powerful Chinese warlord named Zhang Zuolin. He was like a king in a big part of China called Manchuria. The Japanese wanted to control Manchuria, but Zhang Zuolin was in their way. The Japanese spies decided they needed to get rid of him. But Zhang Zuolin was very careful. Yoshiko found a way to get close to one of Zhang Zuolin's top helpers. She used her charm and cleverness, and this aide told her many secrets, including Zhang Zuolin's secret travel plans by train. Yoshiko gave this secret news to the Japanese spies, and in 1928, when Zhang Zuolin's train reached a place called Huanggutun, a big bomb hidden by the Japanese exploded. Zhang Zuolin was badly hurt and died soon after. For Yoshiko, this was her first big success as a spy. After this, Yoshiko became even more important to the Japanese. They had a plan for Manchuria. They wanted to take Puyi, the last emperor of China, who was then living quietly in a city called Tianjin, and make him the emperor of a new country in Manchuria called Manchukuo. This Manchukuo would really be controlled by Japan. But Puyi was worried about his wife, Empress Wanrong. She was still in Tianjin. Puyi said he wouldn't become emperor unless Wanrong was brought to him safely. The Japanese asked Yoshiko to help. She was a Manchu princess, so she could visit Wanrong. Yoshiko took on the dangerous job. She went to Tianjin and, with a clever plan, she smuggled Wanrong out, hidden in a coffin. Yoshiko got Wanrong safely to Puyi. Because of this, Puyi agreed, and in 1932, Manchukuo was started. Yoshiko had helped the Japanese again. She felt she was also helping her Manchu people and honoring her father, the prince, who had died sad because his big dreams for his people had failed. She then went to Shanghai. She worked with a Japanese intelligence officer there named Tanaka. Yoshiko helped stir up trouble between Chinese and Japanese people in Shanghai. This led to a big battle in 1932, which gave the Japanese army an excuse to take more control. When the Japanese army planned to invade a part of China near Manchuria called Reihei, Yoshiko saw another chance. She felt that being a real soldier, leading troops, was better and more exciting than just gathering secret news as a spy. She wanted to be a commander. With Japanese help, she gathered a small army of about 3,000 men. She called it the Angguojun, or Pacification Army. She dressed in a man's army uniform and rode a horse at the head of her troops. For a short time, she was famous as the Eastern Jewel, a princess leading an army. Her army mostly followed the main Japanese army, but Yoshiko loved being a commander. However, the Japanese military leaders soon told Yoshiko to break up her army. They worried she might become too powerful. This was a big disappointment for Yoshiko. She felt used and then thrown away. After this, Yoshiko's life became more complicated. She continued to work as a spy for the Japanese in different parts of China. She was still beautiful and clever, but she never again had the same fame or power. She became known for her wild ways and changing moods. When World War II finally ended in 1945 and Japan lost, Yoshiko's life changed completely again. The Chinese government started to arrest people who had worked with the Japanese during the war. These people were called Hanjian, which means traitors to China. Yoshiko was arrested. She was put on trial. She tried to argue that she was Japanese, not Chinese, because she was adopted by Naniwa and grew up in Japan. But the court did not agree. They said she was born Chinese, a Manchu princess, and she had helped the Japanese enemy. They found her guilty. The punishment was death. In 1948, on a cold March morning in Beijing, Kawashima Yoshiko was executed by a gunshot. She was 41 years old. But her story didn't quite end there. Because she was so famous and mysterious, and because her execution was done somewhat secretly, rumors started. Some people said the woman who was shot was not really Yoshiko. They said she had escaped, and another prisoner had died in her place. For many years, people wondered. There were stories that she had been seen alive in different parts of China, living a quiet life under a new name. But there was never any final, clear proof. So, for Kawashima Yoshiko, the famous spy once called the Eastern Jewel, the Manchu princess who became a Japanese spy, her true end is still like a puzzle. It remains a legend, full of secrets, just like her whole life had been.
作为一个母语非英语的人，能把故事听完，你的进步太大了。感谢你收看这个节目，如果你觉得这个节目对你有帮助，请给我一个点赞或者留下评论，这对我很重要。这里是像学母语一样学英语频道，我们下个视频见。